Hello YouTube, James here from Tech Idiots, and it's the first video we have with our new HandyCam, which Andy's got, Handy HandyCam. So hopefully the quality will be a bit better than using our mobile phones. Today's video is about swapping out our current Raspberry Pi 3 with a Raspberry Pi 4 2 gig, which is currently running, or will be running, our controller for a Unifi and Pi-hole. Is it Pi-hole?
Yeah,
I'm thinking of NG blocker. So yeah, so we're going to go through it all. If you want to just zoom in here, first thing we're going to do is we're going to back up, or rather download the file for the latest controller, what's been backed up. Now I've asked the controller to save 7 days worth, just for, you know, because you can. So I think we should. Can we back up now, or is that the latest one? 25th, that's today, at 1 AM in the morning it did it. So we're going to download the config for the controller. Hopefully we don't need this, but Andrew's already said that just download it just in case, and I guess it makes sense. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to save file, yeah. I don't know where that saved it, so I want to make sure that we've got that saved just in downloads. Brilliant. Okay, so yeah, we've got the current Unifi controller. Oh, what's happened here? Let's just go back. 192.168. Okay, so what first thing we need to do is back up the config file for our Unifi controller, and as you can see here, it's made a backup today, 25th at time recording. So we're going to download that config. Just to be safe. Hopefully we don't need it, so that's in downloads, which is good. Now we've tried, let me just check Pi-hole. We've got our Pi-hole as well on the Raspberry Pi. Now I'm not quite sure if we need to shut down the Pi, but if I recall, Andy, me and you have tried this and it won't shut off. It won't power down. So we're going to log into the Pi. We'll try it anyway. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to unplug it. Okay. So that would be sudo space shutdown space now. Okay. Right. So it says it's been disconnected, which means it's powering down. So if we come over this way, around here, it should switch off, but it's not doing. Whether that's off, there's no hard drive LED activity. I say hard drive, it's an micro SD. I'm just going to unplug it, yeah? Okay, that's been unplugged. Ethernet has now been unplugged. So this is our current Unifi controller Pi-hole host, which is a Raspberry Pi 3. It's not a plus, just a 3. A couple of benefits why we're updating it is, the first one is, as you can see here, this is a 1U rack Raspberry Pi holder, and it's got ears on it built in, and this will sit in like this. I'm going to come around here, quickly show you, into the Pi, into the server rack, and then all 6 Pis, yeah, 6, yeah, 6, I thought there were 5, but the 6 Pis will be mounted, and then they'll have PoE hats, which these are here. So these down here, this is the Raspberry Pi 4, this is the PoE hat, which I'll put a link to the description below where you can get that from. So what this is, it literally is just each enclosure next to each other, okay, printed individually, and then before the ears there's metal bars threaded, which have been cut to measure, with bolts on the end with a few washers just to tie them all together. Two at the front and one at the back. And that's it. I was speaking to Andy earlier about these here. They've already got a recess here to push in. So I'll quickly show you on the Pi 3. so it would fit just like that, but that would be a lot lower because right now it's just sitting on top of well, the actual screws where they fit. Now personally, I think if you look here, these little resets, what they sit off, these little notches, standoffs, I think that might just be enough for airflow. Now the PoE hat which sits on top doesn't have a fan. Now I know you can get the official Raspberry Pi PoE hat which has got a fan, etc, but this was £8.99 instead of 25 quid. So yeah, this is the Pi 4, 2 gig of RAM. So that's what we're going to put in. So hopefully all we have to do with the two, let's get this out of the box, all we have to do with the two is swap out the SD card and that's it, and boot back up. But like we've said, Andy's a good idea saying let's back up the config just in case. It's not really a big disadvantage to us if we can't get the Pi all set back up. What we do is reinstall it and reconfigure it, and that'll only take 5-10 minutes. So the first step is I want to make sure that we can get this mounted in. So should I put the Pi PoE hat on first and then mount it all in? Right, so I've got the rack in front of me here. I've got the Pi 3 and the Pi 4 and the PoE hat for it and all the little fittings and stuff. Got my screwdriver out. What we're going to do is we're going to take the Pi 3 and take the SD card out. Now technically I want to try this before, just put this in and try it and boot it back up, but I don't have the AC adapter for this. I just bought the PoE, just the Pi 4 on its own. So we're going to set it all up and just hope for the best. So that's gone in. Now we're going to unscrew these. I'm not going to use this one because one of the actual brackets or the standoffs has been snapped off, so I'm going to replace this one at some point. That's handy, that. It's heavy handed, you see. Shocking. And yes, he's the cameraman as well. So let's take all these screws out. Then we need this PoE hat to sit onto the pinout area, okay, but we could just put that in and leave the standoffs and leave that as it is and just screw it back on. So we could put the Pi down and line it up after we connect it up, or we could put the 2 screws in, all 4 screws rather, back in and then sit this on, because it's not going to go anywhere. I think the actual standoffs it comes with, the PoE hat, are just to make it a bit more stable. What do you reckon, Andy? I think we should have it without.
Screw it down.
You want to screw it down, yeah? Screw it down. So we'll put these back in. And now then, just head up the camera whilst I'm screwing this down. I'm going to put one in this side as well. We don't need all 4 in, really. It's just 2 will do, one opposite corners. But because sod's law, this won't work. And we've lost his controller for his Unifi cameras and switch, PoE switch. So that's 3 in. Memory card's already in. Let's put the 4th in, or shall we leave it out and mess with Andy's OCD? That just levels up nicely, that. It's not in the way at all. But this is the first revision, I guess you could call it. There's another one which is in design at the moment, which is going to hold, I think it's 16 of them instead of 6. I think it's 16 or 14, but we'll get to that as in another video. So we've got the Pi 4 now connected, a bit more stable. Techa's power over Ethernet third-party design. There is one very similar to this one, and it's got a fan here. It looks exactly the same, but just with a fan, 1.3mm fan. And then there's the official Raspberry Pi one, which is a full, like a board, or something instead of just a cutout like this. So let's get this on there, like that. I think we are ready to put this back in the rack. I'm not going to screw it in. We'll connect the blue one, we'll use the blue one and then take that out of the normal switch. So let's move over to the server rack now. Yeah, looks pretty good that, Andy. Don't sit up as high as I thought it would do. Right, so we don't need the AC power, that's for the Pi 3 now anyway. We do need this, however, so I'm just going to pull that round here a little bit, just give it a bit of a wiggle. You have to excuse the cable mess and the rack, etc. It's just been neglected. So eventually that will be screwed in there, in the cage nuts, when we get some out. So this is our 24 port Netgear switch. This is not PoE. This is the 16 port Unifi 150 watt Gen 1. I don't think there's a Gen 2 out for the 150 watt yet. 16 port one. I think there's a 24 port Gen 2 isn't there? Yeah. So yeah, that's managing all the power over Ethernet for the CCTV, which will be a different video. So we're looking for this blue lead here. Take it out of port 3. And then we're just going to drag this over. We'll go into this new cluster, because there's 2 clusters here. 1 cluster each of 8. We'll plug it into 9. And then we'll plug this one into the Pi 4. We've got the memory card in, the PoE hat on top. It's screwed down. So let's now plug this in, and we should see some indicator going. We've got some lights on it, 2 lights, one on the PoE hat, 2 on the actual Raspberry Pi 4 themselves, and we've got both indicators on the actual Ethernet port. So, well, it's pretty good. And you're going to get a zoom into that. Let's move over here, bit of a mess. The Pi 3, all the nuts and bolts. Just for now, let's just see if we can actually access what we need to access. So, inactive, let's reload PuTTY and see if we can access the Pi. This is the moment. This is where I start crying and moaning and think that the world's ended if this does not work. So, we'll see. Oh, we have a login, so it's recognised the IP, so it's still got the same IP, because normally each device got its own unique MAC address. But I'm guessing that MAC address has been assigned via the SD card, and that's why it thinks it's the same device. Maybe. Could be. And we're in. Right, let's try. Pi hole. That seems to be working. Let's just quickly log in. Brilliant. Let's try the Unifi Controller. I think that's wrong. Yeah. I've changed it, you see. Yeah. Okay. So even though we didn't need to back up the config because everything's working, just as a precaution we did anyway, just in case it wasn't you know, working properly. Whilst we're on here, we might as well download the new software for the controller. In fact, this is on Linux, so we'll download that. We'll do a different video for that. How to update your Unifi Controller on Raspbian. So let's just check to see if the devices are there. We've got the PoE hat. We are plugged in. So this is interesting. Normally all what we see is orange for 100 and PoE, but green means 1 gigabit and PoE, because the Pi 4 is a gigabit Ethernet, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, I think that's it for this video. So that was just literally swapping out our old Raspberry Pi 3, which isn't compatible with a PoE hat. That's the whole reason of one of the reasons why we've got the custom built 3D printed Pi holder, because each one of them in its own case can have a PoE hat and just plug them in into the PoE switch. That's the idea. So we swap this out, we'll find another purpose for this, and hopefully the Pi 4 is a lot better than the Pi 3. Until then, thanks for watching.